Hello, everybody. I'm Kristin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is So I'm Watching Outlander, Season 1, Episode 6, The Garrison Commander. For being called Garrison Commander, we really only are with the commander for a short amount of time.
Very quickly. In and out.
Because what even is his name? General Thomas.
Yeah, there we go.
Lord Thomas, whatever. Yeah, so Claire goes with the English, her and Dougal both.
Which we kind of touched on the last episode. Yeah. She takes too long to answer.
That's just a TV thing.
I know, but still.
But it's annoying. It's definitely annoying.
You could see the wheels turning. She was just kind of weighing her options, but they were like, great. So I know that you said that you were a guest, but we're going to take you anyway.
I'm sure Lord Thomas would like to meet you.
Yeah.
So she and Dougal go to wherever they're holed up. It's not Fort William. It's just like a town and like a castle or a country house or whatever. So they go there. It's like actually sort of nice at first. Like Claire's fine. Everything's going good. They like have a nice meal. There's like a lot of venison, which sounds pretty tasty
and
right now.
And a claret from 35.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Although I'm not sure wine used to be as good as it is now.
A lot of sediment.
Yeah.
A lot of sediment.
That feels like that's correct.
I still would like to try some.
Well, especially now. I'm sure wine from 1935 or 1735 would be delicious now. Or it would just be
vinegar.
Yeah. Because I imagine the corking techniques were all the way there.
I can't remember what show I was watching. Oh, it might have been that like show that with Matthew Good where they were like getting the different wines and stuff. Because didn't they taste a wine that was from like the 1700s? They had like a little teeny tiny bit.
They did.
And it was still good.
Yeah.
So I think if it's kept properly, it'll be fine, like in the catacombs of the vineyard.
Yeah, I mean, anything kept in catacombs, probably. If you have catacombs, I think you know how to make wine.
I'm so jealous. What is that like for you?
Yeah. What's it like owning your own catacombs?
Yeah.
OMG. So yeah, they have this like nice meal. She tells them the story that she's like, like made up mostly, but it's like got, kernels of truth in there. They're like mostly fine. They like want to let her, get her to Inverness. It's great. She's going good. And then she opens her big fat mouth.
Oh, God.
And she just does not quit talking.
And I mean, she's right because she's like, we are the oppressors.
Yeah.
The Scots are not the oppressors. We are on stolen land. Yeah. And then they're like, excuse me, ma'am. And then it pans out to like all of the redcoat generals that are lining the table. And it's just like, read the room, ma'am.
Yeah. The only one that I'll give a pass is Lieutenant Foster because he feels like he's slightly sympathetic to her.
Yes, absolutely.
He's sort of like, I mean, she's right. She shouldn't say it, but she's right.
So I'm wondering how much time he actually spent in that village that we first meet him at, where he might be slightly softened to the Scots plight.
Because guess what? They're just people.
Yeah.
Like the rest of us.
Yeah.
They're just people. And they just continually call them savages. And like they make fun of Dougal's speaking, which by this point, because we've watched 5 episodes already, we know what he said.
Yeah.
Even though it's like the Scottish sort of dialect. And so it's just, because I do love that moment where Claire puts them in their place because she's like, there are places in England like Newcastle where you can't understand them either. So fuck off.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great. I love that part. But then stupid Blackjack Randall.
He's just the worst.
Yeah.
TM.
So I will say this. I love their scene together. Their like extended scene together. It is so I think one of the smartest things that this show did is casting basically everyone as like relative unknowns. Like they are probably recognizable in like the English theater scene, but I didn't know who any of these people were when I saw this movie, except for I think Graham McTavish had already been in one of the Hobbit movies, but he is basically unrecognizable because he's a dwarf and his hair is really stupid. So I didn't really know anybody in this show before I started watching it. And so I think that's one of the like smartest things that this show did. And because you also are like, some of them don't look the way they're supposed to necessarily, but they all do it so well that it like totally makes up for it. And I think there is something so remarkable about Katrina Balfe and Tobias Menzies' chemistry.
It's electric.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They have such a good rapport with one another. And it's the thing I think I said it in one of the previous episodes. And if not, I've said it in something recently. But this sort of feels like the last show that began where they had chemistry tests between all of the lead actors, because or maybe it's just like Katrina Balfe's magical energy.
Maybe.
She's incredible.
I feel like she could have chemistry with a paper bag.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So incredible. And so it's like she's got these amazing scenes with Dougal and she's got these amazing scenes with Sam Heughan, which, if I'm being honest, in early days especially, their chemistry is not the best.
But I think that kind of works, though, especially up until this point, because they're kind of awkward.
They're like in each other's orbits, but it's not like they're not close. And so
magnets,
it grows. Yeah. Obviously, their chemistry grows. And honestly, I believe they're both good enough that they could be putting on an awkward chemistry right now.
I agree.
But there is just, you're right, electric. There's something electric about these scenes. And also the fact that he's trying to catch her in a lie, and she is generally a decent enough liar to get through it.
She committed. Cried and everything. So if I were in that situation, I probably would produce some tears as well, just because I'd be like, I am so fucked right now. Yeah. But she sold it.
She really did. And especially, I think she probably doesn't have to sell it, like try to sell it that hard, because he is talking about just absolutely whipping Jamie like to death, essentially.
Yeah, and he looks like he's about to get his nut right there.
Oh my God.
Just like the way
You're so right.
The way that he is settling into that memory. If he honestly just like whipped it out and started stroking it, it would not
surprise me.
Yeah, I would not be shocked at all. I'd be like, this checks for you.
100%. And I do, and again, in this episode, we have like a juxtaposition because Claire has a flashback to when she was with Frank using the straight razor that got passed down 200 years in his family. Bizarre thing to pass down, just, saying. And so
not enough alcohol in the world to make that thing clean.
No, I'm not about it.
No.
So anyway, that part is really interesting because we then in one episode get to see Tobias Menzies play both characters. And it's also like not quite the height of Blackjack's like masochism or sadism, I guess, but it's pretty high up there.
Oh, yeah.
He's pretty sadistic in this episode. And so I really like watching both layers of his performance, which is like so fascinating. And that's like, honestly, the three of them are like the only characters that we really get that are worth anything. Claire and Frank and Dougal, or Claire and Jack and Dougal. But it's such a masterclass of like a twofer scene. Oh my God. I'm just like,
the fact that it's like a standoff.
Yeah.
I mean, if I feel like you could pick up the two of them and put them in a Western and the vibe would be completely the same.
Yep.
Except they're just sitting.
Yeah.
And the little bits of what they're doing in that scene, sitting still, is incredible. And the fact that Jack is like orbiting her in a weird way. Like it is very much predator and prey.
They also do move a decent amount in the episode. They're not only sitting, and she's sitting at different places throughout, and they both stand and move a couple of times. It's also just like fascinatingly choreographed as well. And then
it's like chess.
Yeah. We talked about it once before, but I'm going to put a button on it in this one because he is so much hotter as Blackjack Randall.
I feel so gross.
No, it is.
Just
it's
because
gross.
He is a terrible human being.
But like in the moment where, first of all, he mouths off to the general immediately. He was like, because he's like too dusty, and the general is like, my stars and claret, like. And so he like dusts himself off while maintaining eye contact,
and then just like slamming
so
his jacket.
And then he's like, "Oh yes, God save the claret," or whatever. But then he just like is struck by such inspiration watching her cry that he has to come to a different seat where the light on her face is better. And then he draws her on a cloth napkin. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, and not only draws her on a cloth napkin, but pulls out a knife out of his bag. You don't know.
The charcoal.
But like at that time, you don't know what he's pulling it out for. Yeah. Then it's like, he innocuously like sharpens the charcoal and then moves around. And so it is a masterclass in building tension because it's like you think that you're safe, but honestly, there's a knife has entered the chat.
Yeah.
So that's like,
there's like 11,000 muskets within a 10-foot radius of this room too. So.
Yeah.
No,
he seems like he would prefer the knife.
It's a lot more present.
Yeah.
Very
intimate.
No, but it's like, and he does like a good job. Like, and we like, I don't know what, because like we watch him doodling. And so did Tobias Menzies draw that? I'd love to know.
Yeah.
I would love to know. That would be amazing. Because you want to hear something sort of gross from a different thing?
Oh, God.
Guess who actually is the one who drew Kate Winslet in Titanic?
James Cameron.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Obi.
So yeah, I don't know. But basically, the tension reaches a fever pitch. He's like essentially coming in his pants while he's talking about beating Jamie senseless, and it was like they created something beautiful together, and Jamie wouldn't break, and that's when he knew, and that's like when he like falls in love with Jamie, which is super gross. And Claire is just like, "You're disgusting, but there's always hope?" Question mark.
Yeah, and
which is like a bold gambit.
Yeah, where she was like, the fact that you worry about my opinion gives me hope. And it's like, ma'am,
no. No.
Whoa.
So we get through that, and then he just fucking cold cocks her in the stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Straight in it. Like, not even, like, I feel like he hits her higher, like, right in the diaphragm.
Oh, yeah.
She cannot breathe.
Yeah, knocks the wind right out of
her. And she falls to her knees, and then he makes a tiny little lieutenant just kick her, and he's, like, really, like, ugh.
Yeah, and he's like, have you ever kicked a woman before? And they're like, they're so soft. And it's like, ah! Psychopath! Ew! I hate it! I hate it. Chills.
It's so gross.
So bad.
So he kicks her once really, like, gently, and he's essentially like, nut up and kick her like a man, and then he kicks her a little bit harder, and that's when Dougal bursts in and, like, grabs her, which is great. And so you're right. It's this Dougal that's great.
I love this Dougal. He's just like, come on, lassie. Like, you know, and he's sticking up for her, and he is protecting her. I love that. I hate Culloden Dougal. Yeah. I hate it, but
I love the relationship between Claire and Dougal, especially in this moment. It's like so satisfying because it's like, especially after the scene in the previous episode where all of the men stood up for her against those other Scots that were calling her a whore. And so I do love that they have basically accepted her as their own. And like, because even before then, Dougal takes her to the like magic spring. I think he believes her already.
I agree.
He just like has this superstition that he's like, if you drink from this like fairy spring, you can't lie, and if you do, it'll like burn out your throat or whatever, which sounds just hellish.
I think the fact that when he walked in that room and she was gasping for air, and it obviously looked like she had been attacked, that probably solidified the fact that she was not a spy beforehand. But I think had he walked in and seen her sitting still with all of the generals, I think he would have been like, something's not right.
Something's not right. But in this case, something is not right in a different way.
Yeah.
So he does take her to the spring. He makes her drink. Well, he doesn't make her drink. She drinks of her own volition. And then he asks her if she's a spy. And she gets pretty pissed again because she's like, are you fucking serious? How many times do I tell you I'm not a goddamn spy?
It's either I'm a spy or I'm a prostitute.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't just be normal. Like,
they're not in middle ground.
It's like, no, I'm a what you would consider a fairy because I've come from another time, but like none of these other things are true about me.
Exactly. So it is nice that she finally is sort of able to convince him, and he's like, okay, that's it. And he puts his knife away, and he's just like, let's go. You're going to get married to Jamie in order to make you a Scottish subject, so you're not then subjected to the English laws.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love it.
And then we get to see it when Claire and Jamie are talking about getting married, and she's all like fucking freaking out or whatever, and he's down. You can tell that he's down.
I think, okay, here's the thing, because I'm not sure he's like 100% in love with her yet, but he's very intrigued by her.
He loves her.
He likes her a lot.
He loves her.
Okay.
He loves her. He loves her.
But I do love how willing he is to do it. Where it's like,
because she's hot. I mean, both of these people are so smoking hot.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I could do worse.
Yeah.
You know?
And also,
I could marry Leary.
Oh,
Ugh.
yeah. Ugh. So if I'm remembering correctly from the books, Claire is 25 and Jamie's 23.
Yes.
And so both of these human people were already 30, I think, at the time that this was happening, which is great. I love that they like got them a little older. But I do sort of love that he just like, she's older than him and she's, been married before. I remember reading this part and being like,
I know. Just because we never get it, where the woman is the more experienced of the partner. and the male is the virgin. And she's like, doesn't it bother you that I'm not a virgin? And he was like, it doesn't, as long as it doesn't bother you that I am.
And
so good.
And then I specifically love the part that he says, I figure one of us should know what we're doing.
Should ken what they're doing. So good. Prepare yourselves now for the next episode because we're just going to be doing this the whole time. Yeah.
No.
So good.
I love it so much. She's like accepting of it, but then she just like walks up and steals Dougal's whiskey and walks away and to just get shit hammered before her wedding. It's incredible.
Listen, if I'm in the 1740s in a foreign land, you know, I don't have my wits about me. I have to be forced into a marriage with a hot Scot, no probs.
Yeah.
A hot Scot who listens to me and seems to respect me and has a good head on his shoulders and stands up for women, no problem. Tell me where I can sign up.
And who's fully trainable in the bedroom.
Yes!
No, it sounds amazing. And that's the other thing, too, is this book has so many tropes that I love in, like, fan fiction and romance and just, like, books in general, where it's, like, it's not an enemies to lovers, but it is, like, a friends and, like, sort of reluctant allies to lovers thing, which I am so down for. And then I also love, like, a forced proximity, arranged marriage type of situation. Amazing. Amazing. It's like my favorite shit.
Let's go watch the other one.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go watch the wedding episode and we will be right back.
Bye. Bye.